Hey, how we doing, everyone? Evan Umstead here. We Move Podcast, episode 17. 1 second, let's just give a hand. If these first 2 days of the NBA playoffs tell us anything, it's going to live up to all the hype. It's going to live up to all the hype, and I cannot wait. I was so thankful, me and Ajay. Sorry we couldn't get you guys a pod or a playoff preview. I promise you, though, regardless of the outcomes of the games, I won't be changing my picks. Um, you know, we went down to Cleveland. Obviously, Ian growing up a Knicks fan, like we talked about, him finishing his career, his college career up in the Garden. The Knicks came to Cleveland, game one, got it done. Jalen Brunson masterclass. On this episode, episode 17, welcome into the We Move pod. Um, I'm gonna run down the NBA playoffs, what's happened so far, what my predictions are going forward. Um, I'm gonna run that down, and then we're gonna talk about that. And I think that after that, I'll talk a little NHL playoffs. Well, and then I'll also give you guys, the NBA awards are out, so I'll give you guys my predictions for all the NBA awards for the year. But yeah, let's run through these first 2 days. We'll run through these games, talk about these games a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So we have the Sixers and the Nets, and my prediction for this series is I think the Nets will get one or two, but I think the Sixers will take care of them. The game one, the Sixers took care of business, 121 to 101. Just an absolute clinic from three. Hit 21 threes, 48% from three. That'll get it done. Harden hit 7 threes, finishing with 23 points, 13 assists. Maxey, 3 threes, 13 points. Embiid with 26. Tobias Harris showing up 3 for 3 from the three, 9 of 14 field goal percentage, 21 points. So a really fantastic game from there. Him, PJ Tucker hit 2 threes. McDaniels hit a three. George Niang 2 for 4 from three. Just a really, really good game. DeAnthony Melton was 2 of 7 from three. Everybody kind of contributed. A really good game from start to finish for the Sixers. I really did like, though, Mikal Bridges really showed up. He showed no fear. Um, 30 points, 12 of 18 shooting, 2 of 4 from three, 5 rebounds to go along with that. I think this team, man, the Nets, their only problem is I feel like they're lacking that star, Bridges is stepping up into that role, but I still feel like they need somebody else to come with them. I love to see Cam Thomas play more. I know people always talk about it. I've been on the Cam Thomas train. People always say, well, yeah, his defense, this and that. At the end of the day, it's the NBA. These are high-level scorers. In the playoffs, you need a high-level scorer, man. And I think that would be a key to help them, win a game or two. I just don't think they're good enough as the Sixers. I think the way James Harden is playing right now, if he continues to play like this, the Sixers could really, really, really be a threat. And we'll go through series going, the future, what I see after I think Philly will take care of this business going forward. I think they'll win tonight. But and take a 2-0 lead going into Brooklyn, and I think Brooklyn could get one or two. If I had to say, I think that right now I just see them getting one right now, probably back home, and I think I see Philly closing it out in five. Just at the end of the day, Embiid is just a problem. I like Nick Claxton. I like how he fights. They need to get him a little bit more involved. Still don't see the I like Dinwiddie as a scorer, but when it comes down to being your main ball handler. I like to see him more at the two, but this team just doesn't necessarily have a point guard. I think Seth Curry. One thing too is he started off hot and then he sat for a minute. I like to see Jock Bond give Seth a shot. He has no fear. He's a really good shooter, and I think he could help them in this series. And hopefully I like to see his minutes increase more. So we'll see how it goes for. I do think Philly is just a better team. I think of the East, obviously barring Giannis's injury that happened yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit about that and the ridiculousness that people are talking about online about charges and stuff. We'll go over that. But yeah, so that was a huge game to start off the day. The first two games were blowouts. The Celtics took care of the Hawks 112 to 99. Just a fantastic performance from, their two stars, Tatum. Tatum and Brown, 29 for Brown, 12 of 23 shooting, 2 or 6, 12 rebounds to go with it. Tatum with 25 and 11, 3 for 7 from 3 for him, 2 or 6 for Brown. Derek Wright showed up, 24 points, 4 for 7 from 3. Marcus Smart, 11, 2 for 4 from 3. Al Horford was 2 for 4 from 3. And this is my pick to win the East. I haven't had any qualms about it. Both these past 2 years, I picked the Celtics to win the East. I picked the Celtics to win the championship last year. I think this team just, when they're locked in, when they're playing and they're locked in the playoffs, people say, well, certain teams don't have to turn it off. When it gets to the playoffs, this team is, I've been on record saying I think Tatum and Brown, I think they could be a Jordan Pippen type duo if they stay together, which I think they will. I think they like each other, and I love to see that from superstars in the NBA. They can coexist. I think the Celtics are on the brink of a dynasty. I think the East, when it comes down to it, I see them sweeping the Hawks. I don't see the Hawks. Maybe they could get one game if Trae Young gets hot. He was 5 for 18 from the field, 16 points. DeJounte Murray had 24, but he was 0 of 6 from 3. I just think I like the Hawks team. I think if they get one full year under Quinn Snyder, I like Quinn Snyder as a coach. Say what you want about his playoff team's shortcomings. I don't think that was on him, really. I think he had Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert as his 2 stars and took them as far as he could. We'll kind of get more into them. I like Mitchell's game. I just think at the end of the day, let me not jump too far ahead, but I do like Quinn Snyder a lot as a coach. If they can keep them together, I know the Trae Young rumors are going out there. I think those are kind of crazy. I know he's inconsistent, but at the end of the day, he wants to be in Atlanta. Atlanta loves him. He's a star down there. You see what he can do when he gets hot. He's taking the team to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's just about them getting under this new regime, really getting together, learning Quinn Snyder's system and getting a full year. And plus, the East is so tough right now. I don't really know. You want to get something on return for Trae Young. So unless you can get, maybe if you like Scoot Henderson in the NBA draft, or if you like, one of the Thompson twins or somebody like that, and you want to move DeJounte to the world, and if you like them so much to where you believe they're generational, maybe you trade Trae, but I like Trae Young. I know he isn't the tallest. I know defensively, and I will harp on this. Defensively in the NBA, there aren't that many guys that are really sitting down in the chair in the NBA. It's about more what you can do on the offensive end, and we know when Trae Young is on, he's really on. But the Celtics, the way they move the ball, the way they play defense, their bench is really deep. They didn't even really have to use them that much. Everybody kind of stayed out of foul trouble for the most part. Jaylen Brown's hand injury, it doesn't concern me as much just because I've seen the way he's played. I mean, he played fantastic in game 1. As long as it isn't, hindering him, I don't see them having too much of a problem in either one of these first 2 rounds. I like Philly. The problem with Philly, though, is Embiid is a monster, but Boston has a lot of bodies to send at him. But if Embiid is dominating, then you can see that series go 6 or 7 games. But at the end of the day, I still like Boston out of the East, even before Giannis's injury. I think Tatum and Brown are phenomenal. Probably my favorite team to watch in the NBA. I love the way they play, and I see greatness. And then we kind of get into the nightcap, man. Wow, it was a blessing to be in the building for this series, the Knicks-Cavs game 1. I think it could be a phenomenal series, but I think I predicted before the series, I like the Knicks. I like the Knicks to beat the Cavs. And I predicted it to go, 6 or 7. I think the Knicks could get it at 6. After game 1, depending on how game 2 goes tomorrow night, the Cavs need to be really careful because right now I'm only seeing Mitchell and Garland. I think they're fantastic. Mitchell ended up with 38, emptying the clip, 6 threes hit, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, just a fantastic game from Donovan Mitchell. He really showed up. Garland was solid, 7 for 13 from the field, 17 points. But here's the thing, Jarrett Allen had 14 and 14. But the Knicks out-rebounded them by 20 points. Evan Mobley had 8 and 11. Isaac Okoro, 0 for 4 for 3. They were leaving it wide open. So as I get to the Knicks stats, Jaylen Brown said, what a performance, 27 points. After being in foul trouble, picked up 3 fouls in the first quarter. And he really showed up, 27 down the stretch, just clutch buckets left and right. I think I've said it before. I said it on my personal page. I think Jalen Brunson was a superstar. I think everything he has, his footwork, his IQ, I think that's what ends up being the difference in this series. Julius Randle showed up 19 and 10. Three threes, 3 from 10, 30%. You kind of have to live with that with Julius. The Knicks didn't even really hit threes. I think Mitchell Robinson is huge. He is the key. He is the key, ladies and gentlemen. Mitchell Robinson can really go. And he's really he had eight rebounds, 6 points and 8 rebounds. But him getting his hands on the balls, the Knicks total as a team had 51 rebounds, and the Cavs ended up with 38 with those two twin towers. And a lot of that goes to Mitchell Robinson. Hartsign came in and really showed up too. He had 8 and 5, and he really showed up. And the minutes were split out evenly. Tom Thibodeau plays those guys. He's known to play those guys a lot of minutes, but he spread it out. I like the rotation they have. If they can get game 2, wow. You're going to the Garden. This series could be over quick, ladies and gentlemen. The Knicks are a tough team, man, and I really like their team. And I really think this team has the potential to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I said this, I know it's hard because we're getting this pod to you late. I said this before the Giannis injury, because you have guys like Hartsign, you have Obi Toppin who stepped in and gives you 9 points off the bench, hit 1 3, 4 rebounds. You have guys like Randall, you have guys like Hartsign, you have Mitch Robinson down low. And these guys can really show up and really build that wall if and when Giannis gets healthy, and if the Bucks make it to the second round, and then if the Bulls, the Heat, sorry, if the Heat make it, then you have a good matchup. But at the end of the day, I think Jalen Brunson really is a closer. He really showed it on the Mavs in that Utah series, even against Phoenix. He really showed that he can show up and really be a force to be reckoned with. And I think there's limitations. I think when it comes to the Celtics, they have closers, whether it's Brown or whether it's Tatum. They have guards like Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart. They can all rotate off of Brunson, and he'll still get his. But for me, my bold take is I think the New York Knicks will make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it'll be a Knicks-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, and I think it'll be a fantastic drag-them-out fight. And, yeah, that's what I see it going. I think that this team could really, really – really go far. I love Jalen Brunson as a closer. I will mark it down now. You can clip me saying it now. I think the Knicks will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. So that really wraps up that game. Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, those guys off the bench. I just don't see Cedi Osman, the guys that the Cavs are bringing off the bench. I don't see them really bringing that impact over to Emmanuel quickly went 0 for 5 from the field. I don't see him doing that. I think he'll get hot. He'll have a game. I think the Knicks are a really deep team, man. And I think this matchup, it could really, Donovan Mitchell could win you a game or two, and he can show up and be a huge playoff performer. But at the end of the day, man, I think the Knicks, man, I think they're a team, a force to be reckoned with, and they're here, and they're going to make some noise in the East this year. I think for sure. They've proved it to me, and my eyes are on alert for the Knicks, man. Now we move into that nightcap game. You got the Kings beating the Warriors 126-123. What a game, man. What a fantastic game. De'Aaron Fox, 38 points, 4 from 8 from 3, 13 from 27 from the floor. He had a huge game. Malik Monk off the bench, 8 from 13 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 32 points. Trey Lyles, the ghost of Trey Lyles from the University of Kentucky, showed up and really showed out, man. 4 3, 16 points. This is from a poor shooting game, 5 for 17 from Sabonis. Harrison Barnes with great minutes, 13 and 7 off the bench. They really showed up, man. And the Warriors, Wiggy, 28 minutes, first game back, 17 points. Poole off the bench, 17 points, 2 for 5 for 3. The nasty in and out step back that he hit some tough shots. Clay with 21, 5 for 14 from the 3. He hit some huge threes. DiVincenzo, 10 points. Just being a glue guy. Steph Curry, masterclass. Steph, what more can you say about them? In my opinion, the greatest point guard to ever play. 6 of 14 from the 3. 11 for 20. From field goals, 30 points. Looney with 8 and 9. He really did his role. Draymond masterclass, 4, 9, and 11. assists, 9 rebounds. I really like how Draymond played. He really showed up. I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag 'em out series. I think it's going 6 or 7, but I do like the Kings, man. I do like the Kings. At the end of the day, man, I like how there's no fear in this team. I think a lot of, and not to give away my hand, a lot of people were talking about Memphis as being the young Lions coming up here. I think the Sacramento Kings are here. I think they're here, ladies and gentlemen. The way Fox showed up in that fourth quarter with all the pressures on them, ladies and gentlemen, when at ECU, we had a game my junior year. We played Tulsa after we were a little hot in conference. I think we started off hot, sold out Minji's almost. I mean, and the pressure's on the home team. And that night in Minji's, we kind of folded under the pressure. Tulsa ended up beating us pretty good. I think they were 10. We didn't have the best shooting day from 3, and that's just because every time the 3 goes up, you feel the entire weight of a city, of a team on your shoulders. And I don't think we performed under pressure. And the Kings have had moments like that under this year where the fans are showing up. It's crazy. Their first time in the playoffs since 03 or 02, snapping the longest playoff drought in North American sports. And they in the regular season, you can see some games where they kind of weren't great under the pressure, but they were fantastic. I mean, Fox in the fourth quarter showed up. Malik Monk, no fear in these guys. And I like that. I love the duos. Like I talk about Tatum and Brown out east. Monk, if he comes along, it's same. Herter didn't have a great game shooting. Sabonis didn't have a great game shooting. So I think that team and the way Mike Brown, he wants to go fast and he wants to take these guys head on. And that's how you beat the champs. If you're gonna beat the champs, you go straight at them. And the Warriors are a championship team. But them not being able to win on the road, it reared its head again. No Wiggins, he had a good game, man. Him coming back, missing that open 3, I'm not really bashing him for that. I mean, it was a good look. Curry had the runner from 3, and everybody's like, well, why doesn't he just set his feet? You don't know, because your peripheral, when that guy that you was guarding the inbounder, you'll have 2 seconds left. Your Curry's not a smaller guard. He's about around my height. So I've actually taken that shot before a late clock because you just want to get it up. And if you set your feet, you're giving those bigger guys a chance to come over and block your shot. So I understand, and Curry can hit that, man. We've seen him hit crazier shots. We saw the corner 3 as he started to hit the shimmy on him. Stephen Curry, man, you can't count the Warriors out. So I would not be surprised to see the Warriors win. But at the end of the day, I like these young Lions. I like the no fear in Fox. I saw that in Kentucky, when he went at Lonzo Ball the way he went at him. I like him. I like Malik Monk. I like Herter. I like Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, Trey Lyles, if he's hitting 3s. Keegan Murray didn't even get going. I like him a lot. So the Kings, man, I think the Kings can take this one in 6 or 7. Might get some flack for that, but I just don't think the Warriors, I think starting with what happened in training camp this year and going all the way leading up until them not playing well in the playoffs, you can't flip it on and off. You can't be that bad. You can't just win 10 games on the road all year, especially a championship team like that they know better. That in this environment, especially when you're going against the Kings, and the Kings have a fantastic home environment, we'll see, man. But obviously, I want to see how Sacktown plays in Golden State. That's a different atmosphere. But I do like the Kings to win that. I think it's a fantastic series. I think it'll be a knockdown, drag 'em out series. But those are all of our Saturday games, man, when it comes to that. Sunday, man. Sunday got kicked off to a fantastic start. Lakers-Grizzlies. Lakers winning 128-112. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, have a day, fellas. Have a day. Rui off the bench ties the Laker record with Michael Thompson for most points off the bench ever. 29 points, 5 or 6 from 3, 11 for 14, 6 rebounds. Fantastic performance for him off the bench. Austin Reeves, 23 points off the bench. Starting, 3 for 5 from 3, 8 for 13, 4 assists. He had the behind the back assist that was nasty to Rui for 3. That was really a kill shot. He had the, pull up 3 and then the pull up mid range that was really, really a dagger in Memphis's heart. That was a huge performance from him. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying of this Los Angeles Lakers team is so dangerous. D'Angelo Russell started off slow, but he finished with 19 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 of 9 from 3. You'd like to see him shoot it a little bit better, 7 or 17. I'm sure he will, but I love D'Lo. I love D'Lo. I love how He performs. I love that he showed no fear. I love Reeves, Hachimura, no fear. I love how those guys go against Memphis, and Memphis down Brandon Clark, potentially down Ja Morant. We'll talk about that once I get to their box score. I think the Lakers, I predicted them in the beginning of the series to win it. I think they can win this series, and I think they can be in the Western Conference Finals and potentially, go to the NBA Finals. But I think this team can go far, man. LeBron didn't even have his best day. 3 from 8 from 3. He's 8 for 16, 50%, 21, 11, and 5. And he's just looking for that help that, he hasn't had. I've never seen a playoff performance from a LeBron James-led team with multiple guys in 20 points like this, showing up. The only thing is consistency, but for them to do it on the road and some of their first, not a ton of playoff experience out of Hachimura and Reeves to show up, that's huge, man. You just want them to continue to do it and keep that same mindset. Jared Vanderbilt, 4-4, right? But his defense, taking Ja Morant, I think that is a key. I love what Darvin Ham did there. I love what he did, having Vanderbilt on him, matching his minutes up with him. Ja's still going to get his. It's the NBA, ladies and gentlemen. You're not shutting any of these superstars down. They are too good offensively. The game is tied, it's tethered, it's officiated for them to score. You're not going to shut anybody down, but he was a presence. He was a presence out there. He's able to score too. He's not just out there just for defense. But I really, 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 LeBron also, I believe, had, he had those, chase down blocks, three blocks. His turnovers, you have to limit those turnovers, LeBron. I don't like the turnovers he's had in the play-in. He's been a little sloppy with the ball. He needs to kind of shore that up if they want to go far. But really a good performance for the Lakers. And then this is the guy I really want to give his flowers because we crush him, and understandably so, because sometimes he doesn't show up. I don't crush people for injuries, Unfortunately, that's a part of the game. Some people get hurt than others. I really, you hope and pray. You want AD to stay healthy. You want Ja to stay healthy. Anybody, Giannis, any of these guys that get hurt, you never want to see superstars go down. But I will say, Anthony Davis, he went down with the shoulder, and you go, oh, here we go again. Because it didn't look horrible, but you can never, judge anyone's pain tolerance. It didn't look horrible. He said he couldn't feel his arm. It was a stinger. Comes back, performs 22 points, 7 blocks from Anthony Davis, 3 steals, 3 assists, 12 rebounds, 10 of 17 from the floor, 2 for 2 from the 3 line, 22 points. Just fantastic performance from Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis. Give Anthony Davis a round clap today. One of the most scrutinized superstars in the NBA, deservingly so. He showed up in game 1. Continue that same energy, Anthony Davis, throughout the playoffs. Hopefully everyone can stay healthy as best we can. We saw Harrow go down with a broken hand. Unfortunately, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But really, really good performance from the Lakers today. If they can keep this up, this series could be over fast, Memphis. If you have to get to Wednesday, is a must win for the Memphis Grizzlies. You absolutely have to win that game. If you do not win that game, you run the risk of being swept or out of there in 5 games. Because the Lakers are dangerous. And any LeBron James-led playoff teams, I don't care how old he is, you cannot play around with that. So Memphis, you are on danger zone. You're in the kill zone. You are. To talk about them, though, what a performance from Jaren Jackson Jr. I have to say, Ian said, hey, watch out for Jaren in the playoffs. 31-5, 4 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. Just a good performance from him. 13-21, 2 for 4 from 3. I love what he did. I love what he brought. Desmond Bane showed up. He had 22. He had a really solid game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Ja only had 18, but he had 2 threes, 8 for 14, efficient, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Dylan Brooks, 5 for 13, 2 of 9 from 3, 15 points. I think at the end of the day, man, the guys off the bench, Tyus Jones was really good floor performance off the bench from Tyus Jones. Kennard, 7 points, hit the 1-3 that LeBron had a defensive lap, just leaves him open. He's a danger, but the key for Memphis is really getting Ja healthy. But I think them missing Brandon Clark and Steven Adams is what kills them in this series. Xavier Tillman, 2 and 3. I just don't think that him playing key minutes, not having a guy like Brandon Clark who can come in and guard AD and spell Jaren. I think they can fight valiantly, but I think you need more out of X. I think Tillman has to show up. I think Dylan Brooks has to hit more than 2 of his 9 threes. I know he spent a lot of energy defensively, but I think he'll have to show up more, and you need Ja to get his hand healthy, which kind of segues me because the next game we're going to talk about is the Bucks and Heat, and we're going to talk about, Giannis hurting his back on the charge call, and then also Ja hurting his hand on the charge call. First thing I want to say is the charge. Anybody saying the charge should be banned from basketball. It's ridiculous. They should be banned from talking basketball. You should block them, mute them on your Twitter, on your Instagram. Anybody talking about the charge is because they either lost some money or their favorite player got hurt. Injuries suck. We never want these guys to get injured. But the charge has been a part of basketball since the start of basketball. We're not taking this out. This isn't baseball. We didn't have 50 guys this year get hurt on charge calls. One thing, too, when you're coming down, Ja braces his hands with a fall, and it's natural asking to put your hands down. You fall. My father always told me, you fall, try to fall on your shoulder. You don't brace your fall with the hand. Not blaming him. That happens. It's natural human instinct to try to brace your falls with your hands. You try to roll on your shoulder, your back, or anything like that. Obviously, weird stuff happens. It's just an unfortunate circumstance when you're falling from that high, when you jump that high. Also, it wasn't like somebody underclipped them or anything. These guys are setting charges. It's the only way to stop high-flying guys that drop to the rack like Giannis or like Ja. You take charges, and if you take charges out of basketball, guys are just going to be just coming down the lane. It's already hard enough to defend now in the NBA. If you take the charge out, you're going to have a guy like Giannis just pulling through people, everything like that. I understand people are saying, well, take the one where they're jumping out of the air. These guys are set. If you're, as an offensive player, if somebody's set, you either throw your floater, you get your pull-up, or you kick. It's these guys that are trying to go for posters and the highlight plays that are flying over people and getting clipped themselves. That's more on the off. If you're set, and in both these cases, somebody's set, you try to fly over them, that's also, you're liable to come down and get injured, and it comes down to that. Also, when you don't have the floater, when you don't have your pull-up in your bag, that's what you're liable to, this is a part of the game, man. I think anybody calling for the charge to be taken out of basketball, I mean, are you kidding me? Have you ever played basketball in your life? For these guys like Kyle Lowry, for these guys like Kevin Love, who can't jump, there's no way, you have to say, well, get your athlete. Some people literally, if you're a 5'11" guard, 6 foot, the only way to stop these guys is to get in front, take a charge. Marcus Smart, guarding your eye. You have to take a charge. There's no other way you're going to stop somebody who's 7 feet tall, can jump and touch the top of the backboard. A freak athlete like Ja, you have to get in front and take charges. It's a part of basketball. Unfortunately, these guys got hurt. Hopefully, both of their x-rays are negative and they can come back and play. But anybody saying take the charge out of basketball, we cannot have a basketball conversation here. I mean, I'll hear you out, but at the end of the day, that's just ridiculous talk, in my opinion. But we move, though. Let's move on to this Heat Bucks game. Performance, Jimmy Butler masterclass, man. Obviously, Giannis going down early really, really hurt the Bucks. Only playing 11 minutes, 6 points. After he, of course, is what we were just talking about, goes in, tries to take a charge. Love is there trying to take a charge, and Giannis goes in, tries to finish, lands awkwardly on his back, has a back contusion. It's day-to-day. Hopefully, he'll be in treatment around the clock. Because at the end of the day, that's what it came down to in this game, in my opinion. Giannis goes out. That kind of takes the air out of the building, takes the air out of a team. That's really hard to come back from. And then Jimmy Butler, just a masterclass, 35 points. Bam showed up, 22 points. 7 assists out of Bam, 9 rebounds out of Bam, 11 assists for Jimmy, 5 rebounds. Gabe Vincent, 15, 4 for 5 from 3. Tyler Herro, 2 for 4 from 3, 5 from 9 before he went out with a broken hand. Unfortunately, he'll probably be out for, 4 to 6 weeks. We'll see how long the Heat can make a run. 8 points from Max Struss. They shot the 3 really well, 60% from 3. It's hard to beat a team when they shoot 60% from 3. Caleb Martin, 15 points. Kevin Love, 18 points off the bench. Just first of all, Milwaukee, before I started talking about their stats, if you're going to let somebody shoot 60% from 3, whether Giannis is playing or not, you're going to be in some trouble. And I picked Milwaukee to win this series. I thought it was going to be a sweep before Giannis went out. I still think they'll win it in 6 or 7 now. That's one. Depending on when Giannis comes back, it could get right back on track and they could get Miami out of here in 5. But Miami looked like they were trying to build the wall a little bit. Giannis had 6 and 11, so I don't know how much you necessarily it was working. But Middleton, you got 33 out of him. He showed up with Giannis going down. Lopez had 10, 0 for 3 from 3. You'd like to see him hit some threes. Drew Holiday, 16 points on 6 of 18 shooting, 16 assists, though, 7 rebounds. That's a really good performance on the assist and rebound front, but 2 of 9 from 3, 6 of 18 from the floor. You got to see a little bit more out of Drew Holiday, one of the more underrated players in the NBA. You just have to show up a little bit more, especially if Giannis is out or even if he's labored a little bit. You're going to need more out of Holiday. And Middleton 33 is a good performance. But like if Giannis is out, you're gonna need more. Bobby Portis was huge off the bench, 21 points, 8 rebounds. 0 for 5 from 3. You'd like to see that be better, but you had Ingles go 3 for 7. You had Wes Matthews go 2 for 4. You just have to, if Giannis is out, 24% total on that's really what it comes down to, is that the Bucks shot 24% from 3. You're going to need to hit threes. Even if Giannis is in, if they're building that wall, you guys are going to have to hit threes, or else the Heat can beat you, man. I predicted Milwaukee to kind of go through on to the next round, but this Giannis thing puts everything into question. So good win for the Heat. 130-117, takes a 1-0 lead. I'm really interested to see game 2, how we come along, and if Giannis is back or not. Like I said, it's just all about how his pain feels on his end, and then we'll kind of see how it goes from there, man. Clippers Suns, man, 115-110. What a performance, man. Great to see KD and Kawhi back in the playoffs healthy, going at it. 38, 13 for 24, 3 for 5 from 3. Kawhi Leonard, have a day, man. What a performance. He showed up. Every time the Suns made a run, he had a basket to match him. EG stepped up big time, 19 points, 7-14 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. He really started off hot too. You had 10 off the bench from Mann, 14 from Powell. Just big performances. 7 and 11 from Mason Plumlee off the bench with the dislocated pinky. Just the Ty Lue, man. Ty Lue, the adjustments he makes. I picked the Suns to win this series starting off, man, but I thought it would go 6 or 7. Obviously, I'm still not backing off that pick. I like the performance from KD, 27, 11, and 9. 11 assists, ladies and gentlemen, from the Durantula. 11 assists, one of the best scorers NBA's ever seen, and he gives you 11 assists. 11 assists and 9 rebounds. So I'm not too worried about them. Torrey Craig gave you 22. That's a good performance. Ayton, 18. You need more from Ayton. Zubac had a good game. He had 12 and 15. You need Ayton to really dominate his matchup. That's how they win this series. Is you need Ayton to come along. You need CP3 to give me something, CP. Give me something. 7 points, 10 assists, 11 rebounds. 1 of 2, 2 of 8 from the floor. I love that he gives you, CP3 is the point guard. He's always going to give you those assists. He's going to give you those rebounds. Well, you just need some more scoring. Booker has 26, 10 and 19 from the field. You like to see Booker hit a 3. Their bench didn't really give him much. You only have 10 points off the bench. That's kind of what happens when you trade Bridges and Cam Johnson to get a player like KD. I think if Chris Paul, you just have to give us double digits, man. You give us double digits. If I'm the Suns, that's what I'm asking for, is just a little bit more out of CP. Durant still, coming back from injury, 8-1. I think that's their first loss with him. But the Ty Lue, man, Monty Williams, Ty Lue, what a good matchup. I don't really think there. At the end of the day, it came down to Kawhi. At the end of the day, they had Kawhi Leonard. And ladies and gentlemen, I did not forget about him, Russell Westbrook. 3 of 19, 1 of 6 from the floor, right? 1 of 6 from 3, sorry. 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 9 points, right? 3 blocks, 2 steals. That is what it came down to. The big play at the end of the game, making the block on Booker. Booker's complaining to the refs. Russ saves it, throws it off Booker's leg, saves the game, knocks down 2 clutch free throws as well when they were up 1. Just fantastic game from Russell Westbrook. Fantastic game. Shooting, he didn't have it. but he made plays in all other facets where he was just a winner, man. Defensively, he was flying around, man. That's winning plays. That's what you need in the playoffs. Ty Lue always just makes those adjustments. The Clippers staff, they always do wonky stuff. Russ is not afraid. This team isn't afraid. But at the end of the day, this series comes down to it. At the end of the day, I think Kevin Durant will step up and perform. I know he hears the noise. I think it's eight playoff losses in a row. But that was just a Kawhi masterclass there. When he is on and when he's locked in and when he's feeling healthy, he's a top 5 player in the NBA, man. And he could be, competing up there. We've seen him take a Toronto team and win a championship. I know KD got injured, but even then, when KD was healthy, or when he was still going against Steph, Draymond, Clay, the Warriors, man. He was giving them that work, man. And Kawhi, when he gets on, we seen him, we saw what he did to Philly when he was in Toronto. We saw what he's done when he was with San Antonio. When Kawhi's locked in, man, he is a problem, ladies and gentlemen. He's proved that. But I think KD will also show, I'm him as well. He'll have those performances, and I think the Suns will prevail, and they'll continue to move on to the next round. I like the Suns. I like them moving forward, and I think the next round, we'll talk about this last game of the night, which wasn't much of a game, man. Denver Nuggets, 109-80 smacking of the Minnesota Timberwolves. This series, ladies and gentlemen, I called it before the series. I call it now. This series will be done at 4. It will be done at 4. When the Denver, I don't know what happened that last month of the season. Everything got kind of wonky, but they showed up last night and they showed out. They showed out, ladies and gentlemen. 24 points from Jamal Murray, playoff Murray, back in mode, 4 from 10 from 3, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Jokic doing what Jokic does, 13 points, 6 assists, 14 rebounds, 6 to 12 from the floor. Just Jokic doing Jokic things. KCP, if you're going to get 15, 3 for 6 from KCP. If you're going to get Michael Porter Jr., 18, 4 from 9 from 3, 11 rebounds. If you're going to get Aaron Gordon, 13, 2 from 4 from 3. If you're going to get 14 from Bruce Brown, 2 for 4 from 3, 5 from 8 from the floor. If you're gonna get, that out of that, this team is back to why they were the number 1 seed in the West. This team, they will roll through Minnesota. They will roll through them. If this Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns, what just disastrous performance, 11 points, 10 rebounds, 1 of 7 from 3. 5 of 5 from the floor. I mean, that's really where it ends right there. And you have Gobert giving you 8 and 13. We know what Gobert is offensively. I mean, you can't rely on him. This trade was a bad trade from the jump. Mike Conley gives you 8. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 7. Anthony Edwards, 18. 6 for 15 from the floor, 1 for 4. He started off hot and kind of faded. Kyle Anderson gives you 11. Jalen Noel, 12 off the bench. This team it comes down, at the end of the day, this comes down to Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, you're 7 feet tall, get in the post and dominate, or try to at least. Taking 7 threes and only hitting 1 is ridiculous. It's ridiculous work. Rudy Gobert giving me 8 points, just ridiculous. But this epitome of this series, in my opinion, was when Kyle Anderson, he was trying to shoot it at the clock, and Christian Braun, the rookie from out of Kansas, wasn't going. He sits right there. It's a little adjutant. And then Kyle Anderson throws an elbow. Probably should have been ejected for that, in my opinion, throwing a blatant elbow. Then he pushes, knocks himself down. Braun stays on his 2 feet. He's kind of laughing at him. That's the epitome of this series for me. There's just 2 different weight classes of teams. I think I like Denver to move on to the next round. I think they play the Suns in the next round. I think it's a good series, but at the end of the day, Denver, when they're playing like that tonight in that home crowd, I think Denver moves on to the conference finals. And then I think the Lakers play the Kings. And I think the Lakers at the end of the day will prevail. And I think we have a Laker-Denver, Western Conference Finals, a rematch. I think it's a good series. But at the end of the day, if the Lakers continue to play like they play in Game 1, they can beat anybody. My prediction for the finals, I got the Lakers coming out of the West. Let me run down the East. I got Boston winning. I got Philly winning. And then my second round matchup, I had the Bucks playing the Knicks. And then I have the Knicks beating the Bucks and then 6 or 7, moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that out there, I think the Sixers can, if James Harden continues to play like this, they could very well beat Boston. But at the end of the day, I think Boston is too deep, man. I think Boston's too deep for anyone in the East. I got them moving past the Sixers in 6 or 7. And then I have and that series could potentially be 5, depending on how the Sixers play. If they aren't hitting threes, if they aren't locked in, the Celtics can make quick work of them. And then I have the Celtics, matching up with the Knicks, and I think they'll take care of them, just because I think Brown and Tatum will be too much for the Knicks. I think they'll fight hard, but I think the Celtics can win any type of game. That's what makes them so dangerous. And then I have the old-fashioned rivalry there in the finals, the Celtics and the Lakers. And if you don't know, I love LeBron James. I think he's arguably, probably, in my opinion, the greatest to ever, do it. And it's so hard for me because the Celtics, I enjoy them, and I love the young players that they have. And I think the Celtics are a better team on all facets. I really do. But also, I look back and I think this is a LeBron James revenge tour. And that game where he didn't get the foul call and the meme where he's losing his mind, I think he'll get in playoff mode. I think Anthony Davis will show up if these role players continue to be even 70% of what they were yesterday. I think the Lakers will prevail in 7. Unfortunately, I think Boston will lose again in the finals, and I think the Lakers, LeBron will get his 5th chip, AD will get his 2nd. Those young guys, will go on to big paydays, and I think that the Lakers will prevail and come out on top as NBA champions. So that is my playoff predictions. We're going to move. The finalists for awards have been announced for the NBA. We're going to move to that, and then I'm just going to run through real quick, my playoff picks for, the NHL, and then we'll go for that. But ladies and gentlemen, let's move to these NBA awards. Coach of the Year finalists. So you got Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics, Mark Daigneault, I don't know how to say his name correctly, from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Mike Brown. I mean, you got 3 really of the Sacramento Kings. You have three really good finalists here. Mazzulla's took over for Ime Udoka, and led them to number 2 seed in the East. Obviously, all the turmoil that went under the Udoka situation, him being suspended by the Celtics for the year, and still leading this team. They had some rough patches here. They were coasting to the 1 seed and kind of fell off for a little bit, like kind of how Denver did, and the Bucks kind of kicked it into gear. That led them to be, I kind of have him 3rd on my list, and then I have Mark from OKC. I have him 2nd because that team was projected to win like 15 games this year. To have them in the play-in, they have a shot to play in the playoffs. They were playing for the 8 seed against Minnesota. They won at New Orleans. That young team that he had with the, both Jay Wills, Jalen Williams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, just those young guys that they had, the way that they performed this year. I have him 2nd in my Coach of the Year, and then Mike Brown is 1st. I think he wins Coach of the Year. The Kings to be the 3 seed in the Wild Wild West, as tough as the West was this year. I think that, not even including what they'll do in the playoffs, just that fact, they have the number 1 offensive rating and offensive pace of play in NBA history. I mean, that's just fantastic for him to come from the Warriors. That team, this Kings team, has not made the playoffs. They haven't even been in the play-in. They haven't even been in the play-in, ladies and gentlemen. From that in year 1 to the 3 seed is just remarkable, man. And I really think there's no doubt in my mind that Mike Brown is my Coach of the Year. Just the way he's led that team. He's obviously put his footprint on that organization. So Mike Brown is my Coach of the Year. Mark coming in 2nd and Joe Mazzulla 3rd. I think all of this year has been a really good year for the NBA. Really, really good year. The product is high as it's ever been. I'm loving what I'm seeing in the playoffs so far. So, I'm loving it. There are 2023 Clutch Player of the Year finalists. So first we have De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings. Leads all the NBA in 4th quarter scoring. DeRozan, Chicago Bulls, in clutch time scoring. He has 12, go ahead or, game winning, buckets from the Chicago Bulls, and then Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat. Obviously always, Jimmy Bucks, Jimmy Clutch, always there in the mix. For me, I think, Fox is the winner of this. I have Fox as my winner. I think at the end of the day, you saw game 1, what he does in the 4th quarter, leading, like I said, the number 1 offense in the NBA. He's the key. He's the engine. So I think just for that alone, he's the winner of the, obviously, has the signature game winner. from 30-something feet where he just walks them down, bang. If you just look up De'Aaron Fox. And then DeRozan, I think is second for me. It's hard to pick between 2 or 3. But I think with, LaVine didn't have his greatest year this year. I thought DeRozan has really been that closer really for the past year and a half for the Bulls. And I don't think they're in that play-in. I know the East, when it got to the bottom, you had the Hornets and Magic who weren't necessarily pushing teams, to play-in spot. But I think, what he did with the Bulls, even what he did in Toronto in that play-in game, even what he was doing down the stretch against Miami in the eight seed game until the wheels kind of came off and the Heat kind of showed up. I think DeRozan, though, they don't have any success or much success with what they had to, kind of go through as a team without DeRozan. I have him second, and I have Jimmy third. I think Jimmy's always clutch, but I just I love what DeRozan does, especially in the clutch in the last minute, the game winners, man. He's money, man, for sure. And then now we move to our sixth man of the year. You got Bobby Portis from Milwaukee. You got Emmanuel Quigley from the Knicks. And then you have Malcolm Brogdon. I think Malcolm Brogdon is the winner of this. I have Quigley a close second. I think what Quigley was able to do off the bench has been really, really good for the Knicks. He's been key. He's had a couple 30-point games. He showed up. But Brogdon's just been a steady, consistent. The Celtics needed that point guard threat. I think that's also what makes a difference of them being a potentially championship winning team this year and them, kind of folding up against the Warriors as they did last year. I got Portis coming in third. I love what Bobby brings. But at the end of the day, I think Brogdon's just been a model of consistency all year. 14.9 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists per game on 48, 44, 87% splits from the three, field goal percentage, 3, and then free throw percentage. With Quickly averaging 12.3, 3.7 rebounds per game, 2.9 assists per game on 44, 35, and 80% splits. I think 44% three-point shooting from Brogdon is just elite point guard play. On 4 assists a game, basically off the bench. He's been that steady factor for the Celtics team that's had such a good season. That's why I picked Brogdon as my sixth man of the year for sure. I can see it going to Quickly, but I picked them. But Rookie of the Year finalists, you have Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic, Walker Kessler of Utah Jazz, Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Santa Clara Jalen Williams, not the Arkansas Jalen Williams. So he had a good year as well, especially down the stretch. But Jalen Williams is really good for the Thunder. Offensively, he has the potential to be a star. He can score from all 3 levels, so I like him a lot. Walker Kessler, man, he really held it down defensively. He had a really good year. For the Jazz, and they were a feisty Jazz team. I like what they did this year out west. They fought hard. I have him coming in third, though. I have Jalen Williams of the Oklahoma City coming in second. And Paolo Banchero is just the number one. I think it could almost be unanimous. I believe it is. I don't think the only person that picked that was the Utah guy, which I understand. Walker Kessler had a good year defensively, but I think at the end of the day, Paolo Banchero let me not give y'all the wrong stats of what Paolo averaged this year, but I believe he was a 25 and 4 guy. I think he had the most 20 plus point games. Only other rookie's done that since LeBron, so that's fantastic. There's no really debate when it comes to there. Yeah, he averaged 20 points on the dot, 6.9 rebounds and 3.7 assists. So you round those up, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Just freaky numbers. Really carrying that team to potentially, they were down there to the last week of the season. Potential play-in. Potential play-in berth. Sorry, and so that was really, really good. But when it comes down to that, I think you got to go Paolo there for your Rookie of the Year. For your Most Improved Player finalists, you have Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the OKC City Thunder, Lauri Markkanen of the Utah Jazz. I think here, right, it's no debate. I think Lauri was the most improved. You just saw the way you saw his numbers jump. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's already a star. I understand his numbers improving, but I have Lauri the number 1, and then I have Jalen Brunson as number 2, and SGA is 3. I didn't understand last year with Ja getting the most improved. Like, he was already a star. I understand your 3-point numbers jump up. For Jalen Brunson, the reason why I have him as 2 is just he went, basically is that he ends up being the go-to guy in New York. For me, it's not that much of a surprise, which isn't why he isn't getting most improved, because you see his numbers jump in the consistency of 40-point games that he had this year. But for Lauri to make the jump that he made from year to year, especially this year, and I understand his role also grew, but I think that team without him, he was really a key cog. The Knicks are still a playoff team without Brunson, and Brunson definitely has helped them get over the edge, in my opinion. But I think Lauri, let's pull up his splits from year to year. Averaging 25. First of all, this year, ladies and gentlemen, he's averaging 25.6 points per game this year. That's what he averaged this year. 25.6 after averaging 14.8 last year. That's really where the conversation ends when you see a jump like that in scoring. And I know Brunson had a pretty huge jump too. But he went from averaging 20, he is averaging 27 this year. And last year, Brunson was averaging, let's see what he's averaging in Dallas, 24, sorry, for the season, 27 in the playoffs. In last year, he averaged 16.3. So still, Lauri still clears him when it comes to that, from jumping 14.6 when I say to 25. I think Lauri marketing, he's had most improved locked up for a while now. I think he'll go get it, and be safe, Lauri, out there with your, be safe with your, he's from Finland, so he has to serve in the military. Be safe out there. And for, we'll see you when you get back. Looking forward to a good year. So Lauri Markkanen is my most improved player. For Kia Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think there's a debate here. I think it's Jaren Jackson Jr. averaging almost 4 blocks a game, three blocks a game, I believe. That's just freaky numbers. I have Mobley of the Cavs, Evan Mobley coming second, and Brook Lopez in third. The Cavs had the number 1 defense, and Mobley is a key force, but he also has just very good when you have Jared Allen there on your side to help you out. So that's where I'm going on that one. And then I think Brook Lopez has always been a good staple defensively. But I think Jaren averaging 3 blocks per game, really, really holding Memphis down with Josh's situation, with Dylan Brooks being technicals in and out of the lineup. Being a force down there. You saw him yesterday getting those blocks. He wins, he clears for me Defensive Player of the Year. So really good year from Jaren. A lot of improvements there. Excited to see this Memphis team in the future. I think they're really a dangerous team going forward. If they can keep their core together, they'll be here for a while. So, Jaren Jackson, my Defensive Player of the Year. For MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Bucks, Embiid of the Sixers, and Jokic of the Nuggets. For me, I know you're not supposed to let little snapshots, but just the work Embiid gave Jokic when it came down to the stretch, the work that he gave him, just head-to-head, the work that he gave anybody head-to-head this year, averaging over 30 points per game. He's been hitting the 3 ball. Let me just run down his splits. 26, 5, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 3 assists. He's just having a really, really, really good year. Oh, sorry, that's the playoffs. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. For the regular season, 33.1 points per game, 10.2 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 54% field goal percentage. Just really, really, really good. As well as shooting 85 from the 86 from the line. Embiid is my MVP. Because the most valuable. Without Embiid, this Sixer team, I don't know, is borderline 8 borderline playoff team. With him, he's been carrying this team all year. Harden's had a good year, but Embiid's been the driving force. Jokic is still on a really good team. I think the way they sputtered down the end of the stretch in that head-to-head matchup with Embiid, I just didn't really like. I can't go off giving Jokic a third. I think he deserved both of his last 2 this year. I think he's having a good year again. Almost averaging a triple-double. I think his numbers, let me pull them up. He still has, you still have Jamal Murray is still averaging a ton of points, having him back. But Jokic averaging almost a triple-double again, 24.5, 11.8, 9.8 assists. I can see how you guys could vote on 63.2% field goal percentage, which is nasty work, just insane numbers, just from Jokic, just from shooting 38% from three at 7 feet. I mean, that's pretty good work, man. But I think Embiid just absolutely carrying his team this year. I know Milwaukee had the best record. Giannis is doing something that hasn't been done since Wilt, and that's average 30, 10, and 5 on over 55%, you know, field goal percentage. That's crazy numbers. But at the end of the day, I think it's Embiid's MVP to be had. I think the year that he's had this year has been just nasty. So I think Embiid is my MVP pick. I think there's no debating this year. It's his year. I mean, you can make cases for those other guys, but just Embiid's been from the jump. He's been dominant. 50-point games on 80% field goal percentage, just insane dominance. I think it's his time to get his MVP, and he deserves it. So Embiid is my MVP. So hockey, I'm gonna predict my hockey playoff predictions. Basically, the hockey, the way they do the reseeding is pretty weird, but I think this is, just to start it off, I think this is the year. I'll go through my first round. I'll go round by round when it comes to the NHL because they do the reseeding and everything. So once, the playoffs kind of move forward. But just to give you guys my picks off rip, I think the feisty, Carolina Hurricanes, I think they finally break through this year. I think they get to a Stanley Cup, but I don't think it's enough. I think there'll be a rematch with Edmonton, and I think McDavid, Draisaitl, they have multiple guys over 100 points. Nugent Hopkins over 100 points. Hyman has 83. I think that just top line, McDavid, Draisaitl, especially with the Oilers losing, not the Oilers, I'm sorry, Mikko Rantanen being out for Colorado, sorry, brain fart. I think that'll be the difference out west. I think it'll be a fantastic playoffs in the NHL, and I think Boston is like the President's Cup, like curse, man. I think Boston, I think they'll handle business. I think I have them sweeping Florida in the first round. I think the Canes. I think it's always that sleeper team, and I think the Canes will make that run. They sputtered down the stretch, but when they needed to win, they showed up and won their games that they needed to get done. So I think the Canes will come out top in the East finally, and I think they'll run into Edmonton. I think Edmonton will be too much with those superstars. And I have the, Edmonton Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid winning his first Stanley Cup. Just having a fantastic year. I think David Pasternak's been really good. The Bruins have been really good. But I think at the end of the day, man, the NHL is a war of attrition. So they have, Bergeron, Ullmark are both questionable for game one. And I think that, the team that will come out on top of the East will be Carolina Hurricanes. Kind of a homer pick. I could see Toronto or Tampa Bay making a run as well, but I think Tampa Bay is just out of gas after all these playoff runs. I think they'll be out of first round. But let me run through my first round picks. I have the Hurricanes taking the Islanders. I have the Bruins sweeping the Panthers. And then I have the Minnesota Wild fighting hard. The Stars have a really good team, and they picked up some really key pieces in the trade deadline. Max Domi, I think, is a sneaky good playoff performer. Jason Robertson having a really good year. Kirill Kaprizov, I think they're just too much. They rely so much on him. I think Dallas will take care of them in the first round, Minnesota. And then I think the Kings Oilers will be a good series. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think McDavid and Draisaitl, as well as Nugent Hopkins, Hyman showing up. If Vander Kane can be healthy, he can be a threat as well. And I think that the Oilers will be too much. They have so many weapons. I think I see them going far. And then also I have the Rangers taking care of business with the Devils. I know the Devils have scored a lot of points, but I think the Rangers are just loaded. They're a ticking time bomb. I could see them going very, very far. They're a ticking time bomb. Lightning Maple Leafs. I have the Maple Leafs finally advancing going to the second round after all their failures, but I have them going through. And then the Jets, Golden Knights. I have the Golden Knights. I like Jack Eichel. I like the goaltending. Anderson, if he can kind of get back into the form he was at the beginning of the season, I think the Golden Knights will get through past the Winnipeg Jets, the sneaky Winnipeg Jets, and then I have the Avalanche taking care of the Kraken. So those are my first round NHL picks. I gave you my Stanley Cup picks. We'll kind of go about that series by series. I think that'll be exciting. But yeah, that's all I really have for you guys. We Move Podcast, Evan Umstead. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll probably put out a quick Q&A. What you guys would like to see. We can answer questions for you guys. Yeah, but yeah, We Move Podcast, episode 17. Evan Umstead. We talked NBA. We talked NHL. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, love you guys. Much appreciated. Go stream that last episode with my father, Brian Umstead, our March Madness podcast winner. That was a good one. Give us a rating on Apple. Give us a review. What would you guys like to see more? I'm always open to improvement. Get better every day is one of my motto, day by day, to see a better day. To those that need to hear that. I know I need to hear that every day, man. So I try to remind myself. But yeah, We Move Podcast, episode 17. Evan Umstead here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Much love. Be safe if you guys go through the week. Enjoy these playoffs. It's the best, most wonderful time of the year, in my opinion. March Madness into NBA, NHL playoffs. Everything, all the drama that goes with it, man. Enjoy it. So yeah, we're signing off. We Move Podcast, episode 17. Evan Umstead. We move.